Okay, Dan, what's going on? I'm super excited about this series that we're doing. Excited to have you on, Dan. We've had some great conversations offline. Now we're bringing them to light here with this content series. And to kick off, like, what's an experiment that you're running right now that you're super excited about? And it could be on the sales side, could be on the marketing side, it could be both.
All right. Yeah, I have to remember I wear two hats. So yeah, I'm really excited about our kind of the massive increase in the use of video from a marketing standpoint, and then expanding our social media channels to match that. So if you look back in 2022, we dropped about 10 what I would guess you'd call talking head videos with various executives and subject matter experts from our company, and we promoted them with what I would say pretty decent results. This year, we've experimented with more animated videos, especially for some of our productized services, just to show exactly how they work. And we've refocused on our YouTube channel, which is not typically a channel that I would say our ICP hangs out in, but times are changing. So, the animated videos, no surprise, are having a really huge success. Cost per subscriber is still a little bit high for my liking, but it's a work in progress. So, and that the whole use of the video and getting different people in the company to participate, it's kind of jazzed up and gotten everybody excited as something new and a little bit more modern than maybe traditional marketing methods.
Yeah, I want to, before we go into the overall outbound strategy to put your sales hat on, I want to talk to the marketing hat real quick. You mentioned that they are performing well. Why do you think these videos perform well on this animation side?
I mean, I think it speaks to kind of the mentality of the world today, in that people like things in short doses. I don't think they want to be talked at. I think you
Mm.
see that even from presentation formats and everything. It's kind of short clips, short videos. People like animation. People like how-to videos also. So there's talking heads, which are talking all about us and what we do and how great we are and how we can help you, which is terrific. But I think these animated videos are really walking them through a particular service offering in a very simple way. So they kind of look at it and say, yeah, I understand that. We have something like that. We could use that. And it really broke it down for us nicely. So I think those small bites really help people understand and learn better.
Yeah, I agree. We're definitely moving into snackable information and bite-sized
Yes.
information, and I think also adding a different element to it because it's animated as well. And if it makes sense to the audience, then you keep doing it. So let's talk about the outbound perspective. Could you walk me through what your outbound strategy as is today? Are you account-based model, not account-based model? How do you segment the team? Walk us through that.
You got it. So it is account based. Our main focus is on the Fortune 1000. The only true segmentation we have in sales is that we have a dedicated sales team selling into the legal market, just because it's such a different world. But there is segmentation in marketing efforts really based on service offering. For example, our warehouse and logistics services are targeted almost exclusively to large manufacturing, biopharma, and hospitals. Our digital transformation services focused almost exclusively on finance and insurance. And while sales is officially not segmented that way, as you know, geography often dictates what lead vertical markets are in that area, and thus a lead service offering that either rep or sales team is focusing on and pursues.
Yeah, so there's a multitude of different things that you said there. You mentioned legal, you mentioned different spectrums that you're going into. These are probably harder organizations to get in front of. What are some tactics that you're running to get in front of these organizations because they're getting hit up a lot?
I mean, I think what we've really had success at, believe it or not, is outbound email, marketing efforts. And I know that may run counter to a lot of things you hear, but we've had success both in the legal market and the corporate market. But we're doing what I would call using super specificity, for lack of a better word. So think about targeting very specific titles at very specific organizations in a specific environment for an individual service offering. You need to be super focused on just a single problem or two they're facing and a single outcome or two they need. Mass efforts are failing, and even segmented semi-personal efforts aren't doing that well. To me, you need intense specificity, and we really kind of converted to that over the past 6, 8, 10 months. And we're seeing really good results in terms of people responding and want to further the conversation.
So I'm gonna coin this and I'm gonna call it scuba prospecting. So you're getting you're getting
I'm gonna write
super,
that.
yeah,
I'm gonna write
right.
that
Hey,
down.
take it. So sounds like you're going 9,000 leagues under the sea and doing things that are very granular that other people aren't. So how are you coming up with these outcomes that you believe the prospects are going to care about? Because there's information that we just don't know yet, right? And how is marketing playing into that?
So I think, one of the things you have is, as you know, I've got marketing and sales under my, umbrella, which is great. And I don't understand why. And now that I live this, I don't understand why any organization would not do that. It's a great approach. And I remember in my own organization when it wasn't that way, and it wasn't pretty. It was like two separate companies. And because I oversee both, my role is kind of a facilitator to drive conversations to figure out what works. And we've been able to create a variety of, let's just call them continuous feedback loops. You've
Mhm.
obviously got the marketing side. So you've got the metrics, the analytics, A B testing, and all that normal stuff, right? But we also get a lot of feedback from sales, the folks in the field, regular meetings with marketing with the various sales team, giving feedback as to what's working, what's resonating, and quite frankly, where are conversations dying? Because we know there's that point where they start talking to somebody and all of a sudden there's no more follow up. They get ghosted, right? So what happened? We get feedback from our clients. We've got a few hundred very happy clients. We meet with them regularly through a variety of methods. We've got executive business reviews. We've got monthly meetings. We've got surveys that go out. Obviously, there's informal conversations. What was their win in doing business with us to them personally? What would they say to others? What's really resonate? What's changing? What's looking forward? So that feedback is just invaluable. And then we get feedback from our subject matter experts, kind of our technologists, our solutions developers within our own company, talking more about what are the hot buttons in their solution set today. And then you take all that, and all that is flying into marketing at various points. And we look at that, and the more feedback we get, the tighter we get with our personas, the tighter we get with our messaging, and the better results we're getting in lead gen. Quantity, yes, but more important to me is quality.
Quality matters. I mean, if you're just doing quantity at this point and that's your only focus, you're going to run up against a wall. I mean, we're already seeing that, right? So, what I want to talk about real quick before we go into more of the alignment piece that you were talking about is the emails, because you said those are successful. Some would say
Yep.
that that is dying, but I feel like everyone says that nowadays something is dying. So, we can't really believe that too much.
Everything's dead. You know
Yeah.
that cold calling's dead, email's dead, outbound's dead, sales is dead. It's all dead.
Might as well just shut down the sales team. That's basically
Exactly.
that's what I'm hearing from LinkedIn. That's the gist. But my question for you is, you mentioned that you're doing all that work to understand the personas and also as well to understand who you're going after. So when you're doing these emails, what is the strategy you're recommending to people in terms of length of email, subject lines? If you could give us a little bit of take on that.
Yeah. So, as I said, it's just making me laugh because we just had this conversation, with my marketing leadership, probably a few days ago because we just launched, a new campaign for our warehouse and distribution services targeting CFOs. And, the teams got together, sales, the subject matter experts, and they put together a series. And to me, it was long. It was very long, and we do a lot of great things. It was telling stories. And it was wonderful. I thought it was long. I was like, all right, let's try that. I said, but let me write one. And I wrote a real quick one because I'm paying attention on LinkedIn to the 3-word subject lines and don't get cute. Just talk about a problem you're going to solve. Open up, a pretty easy call to action at the end. So we're measuring all that. I have found shorter emails, shorter subject lines, talk very specifically about what problem of theirs you can solve. Don't make assumptions. Just, talk about we see these problems in organizations like this or, companies like this or your cohorts.
Right.
Is that a problem for you? Give them an easy out, give them an easy call to action and go from there. I am certainly not a fan of some of the tactics like, would it be better to meet this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning or any of that? I think short, sweet, clear on the problem you're trying to solve for them, clear on asking them, is it really a problem for them? And if it is it impactful? There's problems and there's problems. And then a real simple call to action. I think those have been effective, but we have had some luck with other emails that are more
Of course.
sharing information and educating. I mean, I think there's a place for that as well.
I mean, there is, and I think also as well that is in the middle of your campaign typically. Like I wouldn't lead with, "Hey, here's some insight that I'm going to give you."
Yes.
I believe at this point, if your email doesn't read like a short text to a certain degree, the likelihood of someone responding is going to be low. I have had people who write very longer emails for technical personas. That could be a question to that could be debated, but to your point, that punchiness is going to be key.
I mean, attention spans are short. My own is. I wish it wasn't, but somebody asked me about reading long form posts, blogs, things like that. I said, I got to admit something. Something interests me, I'll click on it. If it's a blog, and I start scrolling down, and if they don't have bolded section titles that I can quickly grasp, or as you say, snack on what's
Yep.
in there to see if I'm interested, I'm probably just deleting. And if I see those and they catch my interest, then I'll go back and read the whole thing. But that's just how we digest information these days, and people are getting bombarded out there. So I think it is, quick in and out, clear on what you're doing, easy call to action, and just catch their attention, get them hopefully starting a conversation, and not dump everything on them from communication number one.
Yeah. And you spoke of communication earlier, and we're gonna shift back to it because you said that if you would have known earlier that the marketing and sales teams were working together was so cohesive, you would have actually taken both earlier. So I guess my question to you is, how do you make sure that that communication remains tight? And what would you recommend to other sales leaders that are trying to get tight with their marketing team instead of it being a battle?
Yeah, so it wasn't my choice to just take the marketing back then.
So you
It
made
was
it
a
like,
separate.
hey, like this is what I want. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I appreciate the confidence. Yeah, it was when I actually first got elevated to national, sales head on our executive team. There was a chief marketing officer, and you know that division at that point was kind of, I don't want to say they're doing, they were wonderful brand builders, wonderful at all that stuff, communications. They weren't that much into lead gen, and they were completely disconnected with the field. And that was kind of what their what they were told to do at the time, kind of build it up. And they were doing a great job with that.
Mhm.
When that person was no longer with us, that's when the decision was made to roll it under one. And we completely changed what it's about. Yes, we still do branding, of course. And of course, communications are important and some of the other marketing things. But we completely shifted into a lead gen organization from a marketing standpoint and married that with the sales organization. And yes, are there some separations? Of course, there's different roles, but there's a consistency in messaging. There's a consistency in communication, and I think that's the key. I mean, you ask for advice to other leaders, whether it's under one umbrella or separate departments, there has to be constant communications because you've got marketing outreach that we're doing on a regular basis. But of course, I expect my sales organization to be doing outreach, whether it's, LinkedIn, cold calls, networking, whatever
Whatever.
works. Those have to kind of be complementary. They can't be, the messages can't conflict, the actual outreach can't conflict where you're hitting the same person from two different angles on the same day. And I really think it's that feedback loop. I do. I think if you set up a scenario with sales, marketing, and any other pertinent departments that touch the clients and the prospects, and there's constantly an exchange of information because everybody's coming at it from different perspectives, and you want to take advantage of that if you want to build the best engine. And I think so that would be my advice, is make sure those feedback mechanisms are in place. They're formal, they're taking place regularly, they get tweaked as needed. And that to me, that's what feeds the engine.
I love that. I think that's good perspective, and that's good advice for everyone that's listening in to be like, "Hey, look, these are things that I can now go do to go get that success." And speaking of success, you are again working in tandem in these two different organizations. What are the three initiatives that you're working on right now, and what are you driving towards to get that success with those initiatives?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I have to always think about this: what's working, what's not working, what else can we try? So I'd say the one is what I talked about earlier. That's super specific, or what do we call it? Scuba
Scuba
prospecting. I love
prospecting.
it.
Hey, look,
Scuba
you
prospecting.
got it.
I'm gonna have a T-shirt made up by the end of the day, and that seems to be working. But a couple other things. Number one, we've doubled down on partnerships. Those don't happen overnight, but we've put a ton of focus over the last few years on building just a small handful of partnerships. And it's paid off big time last year and this year, in that we are getting walked into large opportunities by our partners. And I'll tell you, I put that about 5 steps ahead of even warm leads. I mean, that's been really, really impactful for us. The other initiative that's working, especially in a challenging economy where there is so much hesitation and uncertainty, is what I would call selling an appetizer. It's hard for some organizations today to make huge decisions on major undertakings, right? So we've developed a couple of low barrier to entry productized service offerings that are kind of like, I don't know, small bites, small plates.
Mhm.
One example is digital mail, which we stood up, during the pandemic for obvious reasons. Mail is going to buildings. Nobody is inhabiting those buildings anymore. So you had to do something about it. But it's continued even after that to be a great offering for us. And it is a much simpler decision for companies to make to go with it. And the beauty of it is it begins the conversation about much more in-depth digital transformation efforts that we could help with. And that's really the main course. So I think coming up with these bite-sized offerings just as kind of a, get in the door, start the conversations, prove yourself, develop the relationship is really a great way to go versus trying to sell these high-end complex solutions from day one that, there's just a lot of pushback out there. And a lot of folks are scared of change, scared of transition, scared of implementations, and, just more comfortable with the status quo. They don't want to kind of put their necks on the line. So if you give them small bites, I think it's a way to start building that up.
I love it. Yeah, I wasn't I used to not be a huge fan of appetizers, but recently I have, and I think it's one of those things that before you get into the big meal, you just need to be like, hey, can I get a little taste of something before I go into the
Right.
deep so I can appreciate it more, and also as well, and maybe it's something that I'm like, wow, I want more of that item of that appetizer. You never know. So I really like that you have that appetizer to get people to feel like, okay, like, am I interested in this? Oh, I am. Let's go get more. And let's talk about how you're measuring all this. So, what are the metrics that you're looking at right now in terms of your outbound strategy? The obvious is outbound conversions, but anything that's alarming or something different that y'all do?
I don't know that it's alarming. I mean, obviously, I regularly review with our marketing team
Yep.
all the standard metrics, open rates, click throughs, our website, bounce rates, all that stuff. But me personally, in the same way, I'm not someone who puts much or any stock in sales metrics like number of dials or emails sent. The marketing analytics, yeah, they help us adapt, and evolve our messaging, of course, but they're not the end all. To me, MQLs, marketing qualified leads, are important, but to me, the most important is the conversion rate of MQLs into sales pipeline opportunities. That's all that matters because that represents not just qualification, but true and ongoing interest, need, timing, and budget. And at the end of the day, I want my sales team in front of decision makers in the right opportunities where they're actually interested in something we have to say, and we've actually got a problem of theirs that we can potentially solve. Everything else, I don't want to say it's smoke and mirrors. I know it builds up to it, but to me, that conversion between leads and actual opportunities that we're working for real in the pipeline, that to me is the number one metric that I look at.
Love that. And the last question is, what is some sage advice that you would give to people right now as they're looking to maybe refine their outbound strategy?
Sage advice from a wise old sales guy, huh? I mean, actually, if I had to come up with it, it's just forget what you used to know. Times have changed and really rapidly, and they're still changing. I mean, this old dog is learning new tricks every single day because it's really fast paced how it's changing. So yes, outbound still absolutely positively works, but not the way it did in the past. Get crazy specific, break things down to the least common denominator, a specific title, one industry, one problem to solve, whatever it is. It's really resonating with potential buyers who get bombarded with mass outreach and superficial personalization every hour. And then I would say, whatever your methods are going to be, couple that with finding new ways to get hot leads, right? Help your sales organization. So I talked about partnerships, maybe it's referral programs, whatever it might be for your particular organization. It's a dogfight, right? And if you just rely on traditional outbound, it's going to be tough. So get creative, try some new things, and figure out ways to multiply the impact of your sales organization by taking advantage of other avenues. I mean, I think that's the constant search to get your salespeople in front of decision makers. You got to think out of the box. You got to bring new things to them besides just the traditional outbound and cold calling. Otherwise, it's just going to be a grind.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking your time here, Dan, walking us through these incredible strategies. Scuba prospecting was birthed here, so I don't know, maybe
There we
you get
go.
the shirt, the swag on. Maybe it's like a different concept of merch you might be selling here soon. But appreciate your time. Thanks for the strategies, and we'll see you all in the next one.
You got it, Morgan. I appreciate the opportunity. I love, as you can tell, I love talking about stuff like this. So
Yeah,
great opportunity for me, and I appreciate it.
absolutely.